What is the one most important thing out of that? You think that makes you an unconventional Acharya? One next question that was popping up was why Acharya Prashant is not married? Whom will he marry?
Actually, the question must belong to the questioner.
People say that when we look at present picture of Acharya ji and just few years back when we see what has he done to gain such a level of fitness.
Honestly, it was that's all, nothing else.
Gen Z has been in news for good or bad reasons. Your take on Gen Z, I just saw one of your video and I personally feel it's one of the most well understood term.
I've been working with them since more than 2 decades now. I know them very closely, very intimately. They have been my friends actually.
One of the most important subject, Acharya ji, how your videos are making lifetime changes to millions of women across the world.
Obviously, I have to honestly tell her what I see.
I think nobody would have dared to otherwise go and tell the world directly.
It's a very simple thing. It's an obvious thing. It's a thing of basic honesty.
10,000 plus hours of sessions, talkings you have done. And I also learned that how badly your health has also suffered. Bleeding throat you have experienced in between.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're doing it so effortlessly and constantly. I think hats off to you, Acharya ji.
Because my job is to just say what I see as the fact.
Hello, everyone. So this talk, this session is certainly going to be one of the most memorable one. Because the person I'm going to talk to is known as unconventional Acharya. And why would I say that? You are going to learn in my next set of questions and his deep diving answers. So today we are joined by none other than Acharya Prashant. Acharya ji, namaskar. How are you?
Badhiya.
So when I say this thing, unconventional Acharya, there's so many things I think which rightfully justify that. What is the one most important thing out of that? You think that makes you an unconventional Acharya?
I like to look at convention, look at it closely, examine it before I belong to it, before I follow it. So in that sense, I'm not primarily unconventional. I'm an examiner of convention.
You're redefining conventions in many ways.
That's not the primary purpose, but that does get to happen sometimes. So my purpose is to live authentically and communicate the same message. If in the process of this authenticity, redefinition occurs, it occurs. But that's not the aim I start out with. The aim is to simply remain loyal to the truth. If there is truth in the tradition, in the convention, I would gladly, humbly bow down to it. But if there is anything, including tradition, that has strayed away from the truth, then I'm not going to belong.
So, Acharya ji, Vedanta or the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it's been there since centuries. You know, we have been coming across interpretations, definitions. People have been telling it in their own manner. They've been molding it also, remolding it again and again. So, telling, presenting, or giving the same truth to people in times when time is changing drastically, when demands are changing drastically. So, same truth, but in different perspective. How is it? And is it a challenge? Is it something which you find interesting? And how do you do it above all?
You see, be it the Bhagavad Gita or any other work of wisdom, it does not stand purely by itself. It cannot. There is always a reader. There is always an interpreter. The Bhagavad Gita is a collaborative project between the author, you could say Sri Krishna, you could say Ved Vyas, and the reader. So there are always two present. When you say the Gita, that is incomplete, because after all, it's me who's going to read it. You would read it, this person, that person, the man on the street. And we will interpret those words, apply those words according to where we stand, as per who we are. So when you say the highest truth has always been present in those books, that truth cannot work for us just by itself.
Right.
That truth, interestingly, greatly depends on us. We have to permit, allow the truth to work for us. And if we don't want to allow the truth, then we have just so many other options. We can distort the truth, we can co-opt the truth, we can domesticate the truth, we can color the truth, we can clip the truth. It all depends on us. So I'm preparing the reader. The Bhagavad Gita, you rightly said, has been there since centuries. Yes. But please also see how the lot of mankind has remained over all these centuries, not just the Bhagavad Gita. We have dozens and hundreds of works of wisdom and philosophy, not only in India, all over the world. We have had them. But mankind has remained violent, dark, ignorant. And the number of scriptures and great works has only gone increasing. So what does that mean? That means that the reader has to be prepared. Before the reader can go to the book, the reader has to have a certain inner longing, love, and acknowledgement of his or her dire need to be with the scripture. The scripture is not an obligation. The scripture is a medicine. And no medicine can work on me if I refuse to acknowledge how sick I am.
Very right.
So I'm using the scriptures in a different way. I'm using the scripture to throw light on the condition of the reader. You could call the reader as a seeker or a devotee. That doesn't matter. The reader. So, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita session, there would be a particular verse I would take up. And that through that verse, I address the life of the audience. And when that happens, the audience becomes open, sometimes for the first time, to admit what the verse is actually trying to say. It is important to remember the word collaboration. Whatever the verse has to say has to be said in respect of the life I am actually living. So unless I am connecting the verse to where I truly stand in life, the verse won't work for me. It would become an academic, intellectual exercise, and academic, intellectual are still quite pure words. I should rather say it would become an exercise in hypocrisy, where I say, oh, I want to read a thesis on light while simultaneously preserving my inner darkness. And that's what mankind has done to the scriptures all these centuries. I will go to the Gita, I'll read all the nice things, whereas I'll keep protecting my age-old beliefs, my desires, my hopes, my fears, my sense of self, my identities. I protect them. I protect them here. And outwardly, I say I'm reading the scripture or a work of philosophy or something, whatever. So I'm reading all that. And inwardly, my determination is to remain who I have always been. And what do I use this knowledge for then? All the external knowledge that I'm gathering, I use it to further fortify my inner position. I use all that just as ornaments on what I have already been wearing traditionally since centuries, right? Now, that's not the way to use a medicine. The medicine is not supposed to ornament you, decorate you, embellish your exteriors. The medicine is supposed to go inside and take out your disease, remove something that must not exist.
Heal you for the better.
Heal for the better. And that healing is always a process in negation. Please see. A disease is always something additional that the body never wanted to have. The body is all right as it is. And then you have something external, something additional coming in, and you call that as a disease. This could be a pathogen, a virus, a bacteria that's invaded your body from outside, or it could be an inner growth from within, a tumor, an ulcer, a cancerous growth, something. But it is always something additional and needless. So the function of the medicine is to go in and remove something. In the case of human being, what is additional is psychological. If it is physical, then obviously we have medical science to take care of it. But when we say the Bhagavad Gita is the medicine, then it is a medicine to the psychic self. So the additionality, the thing that we have needlessly gathered, is psychological, which means that the Gita cannot automatically work on the reader. You see, you have something needless in your system, in your liver or somewhere. The doctor prescribes you a certain medicine, you take it, and you find that that which you additionally have, is getting removed. Even cancer, so chemotherapy, so all kinds of needless and weak cells, cancerous cells, they get removed. And you might not even know how. You might know the mechanism. You might not know how the whole thing, the medicine. You're not aware of the process and can happen, which means choice need not be exercised. There exists a traditional medicine which has been proven over decades and maybe centuries, and you take that medicine and you are done. You need not have a psychological commitment to eject a part of yourself. In the case of the psychic self, the situation is tougher. Here, what is to be ejected cannot be ejected without your permission. Unlike the cancerous cell, which can be removed from your body, even without your realization and your conscious choice, the doctor can do it for you. When you have something additional, let's say envy, I have a lot of envy, I have a lot of needless beliefs. No, these are additionalities. They cannot be removed from your system without your consent. So the Gita can keep lying here for 2000 years. And I'm reading the Gita. And I'm professing all kinds of sincerity and devotion. And yet it would not work on me because I have not yet given my consent to my dissolution. I'm reading this, and what I'm reading is becoming more memory-based knowledge. This is coming in and getting stored as knowledge. In fact, it is being used to decorate the disease. Because the disease cannot be automatically removed by the Gita. My acknowledgement is needed. My consent is needed. So my job is to prepare the audiences towards that consent. If the audiences, first of all, do not accept that they are not all right as they are, the Gita won't work for them. So that's where most of my work lies. Self-reflection, self-knowledge, asking yourself where you stand. And all that is done in the light of books of wisdom. So I'm not really teaching those books. I'm holding up a mirror. The books assist me do that.
Acharya ji, we generally, like many of us, have that eureka moment in our life, that supernova kind of a thing. This happened, so that happened. Generally, people want to know that Acharya Prashant, who did so fantastic academically throughout, what was the supernova moment in his life who turned him to Vedanta Marmagya? And today, world is seeing what a true power of Vedanta can be with a very different angle, if I must say, won't be wrong.
No, no one particular such moment. I could put it in two ways. I could say there has been no such exclusive moment at all.
So it was since always.
Yeah, life has been ordinary, continuous, just as the life of the common man is, with no sudden, distinct spikes of any kind. The usual unevenness is there. The usual uh, peaks and troughs, they are there, but nothing very spectacular. The other way to put it is, because you said Nova, a burning star, a continuously burning star. So again, there is continuity. I could there is continuity in not burning at all, or if you want to say yes, something has been happening, then to denote that happening, I would use the word burning. But even if there has been that burning, that too has been continuous. So I fail to come to any particular moment of realization or eureka or any such things. Or maybe they happen with such great frequency that I fail to register anything in particular, anything as prominent or special. So it's happening every day. Maybe something happened today as well. Maybe the day is still to last, and something would happen even after this discussion. Life is full of extraordinary opportunities, is it not? The most extraordinary thing is how this entity, the self, that is so determined to self preserve, also consents to self dissolution. How this inner being, the psychic self, which is a sucker for security, also consents to love. And those miracles, those extraordinary things that cannot really be just rationally explained away, they keep happening every day. I don't have any one particular occasion to quote.
Because what led to Advait Foundation?
You look at the world around and you see that there are various reasons people can attribute to their miserable state. Even before that, you see that the world is indeed in a miserable state. Not just as a subjective observation, but as an objective fact, you see that. You look at the climate crisis, you look at the wars that we are into, you look at the ever proliferating nuclear stockpile. The inhabitants of this earth have hoarded our nuclear tipped ICBMs. You look at the common man, the kind of life he lives. 20 years he gets educated, 40 years he's supposed to be disciplined, be regular, and earn. And he retires 60, 65, some age, gets disease, lives for another 5, 10, 15 years, dies. That's the template. Obviously, as a young man, I was not going to agree to this template. So there was nothing agreeable about the world. One looks at geopolitics, one looks at the relationships between nations. One then looks at the relationships that we have in every common household, the relationship between the mother and the daughter, the husband and the wife. And there is hardly any beauty there. So I wanted to change. And when I looked at the problems that we face, the miseries that we espouse, it was very clear that There is a problem that we quote to be here, outside. And then there is somebody inside of us working terribly hard to maintain and sustain that problem. When the problem appears to be on the exterior, then obviously we want to work there, right? So there's waterlogging, and we want to clear that away. So there's a problem out there somewhere. And we have systems all over the world to take care of all problems on the outside. My observation, my thesis was that all problems on the outside exist with the constant, determined, unwavering support of someone on the inside. And this insider pattern of the problem remains invisible. Only the exterior of the problem remains visible, and we work on that. But the root is within. And the root doesn't get addressed. Therefore, the problems keep resurfacing in newer forms, with newer names. Now, that's where the word Advait comes from. The problem is there. The holder of the problem is here. And this is Dvait, duality. Once you see the dualistic nature of all human problems, then you realize that working on the problems in the exterior domain is not just unproductive, but also self-deceptive. We are just consoling ourselves. We are deceiving ourselves by saying we are sincere people and we want to take care of all the terrible problems as we see in the world. We don't want really to take care of them, else we would have looked into the mirror and seen that the origin of all those problems lies here within man. So I said, you see, I came from an IT and I also looked at my peers in my UPSC batch. And I said, fantastic people, lovely people, very talented people. Some of them definitely more talented than me. And when it comes to problems in technology or management or bureaucratic administration, they are perfectly capable. They'll take care of all those things. They'll come up with tech innovations. They'll come up with better theories of management. They know how to do that. That field is being addressed. The external field of problem solving is already being addressed. It's well populated and there are capable ones. But there is one field that is more important. Okay, fine. I concede maybe because people don't want to easily agree that the inner field is more important. Equally important. But there is one field that is equally important, which is the inner one, the holder of the problem, the one who maintains the problem and invests in the problem. And there is nobody in that field. There is nobody looking at the close end of the problem. We are all obsessed with the far end. I said, I have to work there. If I don't work there, then I would be betraying my own observation, my own conviction. So it is from there that Advait Life Education started, because I could see the dualistic origin of all of man's miseries. So that's the answer to Advait. Advait. Advait simply means I will work here. If this goes, that cannot remain. These two are two ends of the same stick. These are the two poles of the same phenomena. And this is the pole that holds that one. Broadly speaking. Though philosophically it is not so. In duality, that's not what we say, that this one holds that. If this one holds that, then this one becomes the cause, not the dual partner. But broadly speaking, this is the pole that is more actionable. This is the pole that is deeper. This is the pole where the ego resides. So I decided to work on the ego, on the psychic self. And it is from there that the organizational journey started. Advait Life Education, then Prashant Advait Foundation. Both these entities exist even today, though the foundation is obviously much more active.
I personally find, Acharya, that after Jio Krishnamurti or Osho, I personally see you in lines of such preachers in India. I think 10,000 plus hours of sessions, talkings you have done. And I also learned that how badly your health has also suffered. Bleeding throat, you have experienced in between.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so much you are doing. And it's just because, anybody who has everything well settled in life, right from the background, parental background, what the person has done or achieved academically in life, you could have easily been a top guy in some corporate organization or even some big sarkari organization, if I must say. But you have chosen this path. And of course, it has deeper meaning. It has something more to the world. So, how do you find this? Because I think uh, Acharya Prashant deserves much more. What I see right now, because somebody who is giving so much to the world, and I call it, I think, purely selfless act of humanity. So this goes deeper.
There are two aspects to it. In the personal sense, I am more or less satisfied, because I do not see my work as one of addressing others' problems. They are not others' problems, they are my own. It's not that if I'm working in the field of climate awareness,
Yes.
it is for the sake of others. No, not really. It is for my own sake. That I do not like the shape of the world is my own concern in the first place. Somebody is sick, somebody is suffering, somebody is ignorant, somebody is fearful. It appears to be their problem. But if I look at them and I do not like that, and I suffer because I have just seen somebody trembling in fear, then that becomes my own problem as well, very personal in some way, no? So if there is this person who has been conditioned to remain in fear and in all kinds of bondages, shackles, constraints, and I look at that person and I want to help that person be liberated, it's not only for that person that I'm working for myself. The question is, could I leave that person as he or she is and still be at peace with myself? No, I won't be able to manage that. So that simply means that I'm not doing that one a favor, right? And there is that housewife or that laborer in front of me, or there is that rabbit or that bird on the verge of permanent extinction in front of me. Their suffering is not just their suffering. I cannot pretend that I am all right even as they suffer. Their suffering actually becomes mine. So when I work for them, I'm working for myself. I repeat, I'm not doing anybody some favor. So I do not therefore demand acknowledgement. I therefore do not demand gratitude. It's all for me. You could say it's a very personal project. Because what I do...
It's rare instinct. we know that it's very rare instinct. Easy to
But
say,
it
but
exists.
how many of us are actually doing that?
It exists, and I'm helpless when it comes to that. When I look at things, systems, people, other creatures, animals, and if I see fear and suffering and ugliness, that that doesn't leave me untouched. And therefore, when I work for them, I'm working for my own peace. So no gratitude demanded in that sense. And I said there are two aspects. This is the first one. The other one is I want to help that one. And if that one does not see the depth of her misery, she will also not see the value of my efforts towards her. Please understand the whole causal chain. If he's sitting here and he is in a bad position, inwardly, outwardly, all possible ways that we call as life, he's in a bad position, and he's not even acknowledging that. He's not even acknowledging that. So when I approach him to offer some light or to just have a conversation, even to extend a hand, please hold my hand and maybe we can walk together, he will not accept my hand, my advice, my words, anything. Because first of all, he is not in touch with his own inner condition, or he is not being truthful towards his own daily experience. He is suffering, but he is very smartly naming his suffering as something else.
Not aware of his own quantum of misery.
Not aware of his misery, or so terrified of his misery that he chooses to bury it down deep somewhere so that he may not have to look at it. So when I approach him, and I say, friend, may I help? Or may I just spend some time with you? Because help sometimes as a word appears condescending. You are the noble and great helper from above. No, not really. Even if I say I want to sit beside you and let's just converse, he will refuse my offer. He'll refuse my offer. So the appreciation that he has for my work is directly proportional to the acknowledgement that he has for his own miserable state. Therefore, lack of appreciation towards me is a bad sign, a bad omen. It indicates that this fellow is not in touch with his inner self, or that he is not being courageous enough to acknowledge his own inner suffering. And then it becomes important that the world does appreciate what the helper is intending to do and bring. Not because it would benefit the helper. The helper is aware that he is doing it for himself and therefore doesn't demand any gratitude from others. But if the others do offer acknowledgement, if not gratitude, it would be to their own benefit. Not that that expression of gratitude would please me so much or inflate my ego or help me feel good about myself. This fellow just said thank you, or that one just said, sir, you were doing a great job. And I would feel very satisfied, and I would say, yes, that's the ROI I wanted on my effort. Not that way. I'm inwardly very sure and very convinced that after everything, I'm actually working for myself, because it's me who is not at peace with this state of the world. So no gratitude actually demanded from me. At the same time, This fellow must offer gratitude, not for my sake, but for his own. Because absence of gratitude indicates absence of self knowledge. Absence of gratitude means absence of realization of your own sickness. You see, if I know that I am sick, right, I would go to the doctor and I would thank the doctor for offering me the medicine, prescribing me the treatment. But if I'm convinced that I am hale and hearty as I am, whereas I have a deep sickness within, why would I thank any doctor?
Carrying on that self-denial.
Self-denial, yes. So denial of gratitude is actually denial of one's own inner reality. And in that sense, yes, somebody appreciating, somebody acknowledging, somebody offering thanks might be a positive sign. So yes.
Acharya ji, you're one such rare name who's like flag bearer of Gita Gyan and Vedanta and invited to world's topmost, more recognized institutions and being so vocal about so many issues. So you're not only preaching Gita, you're living by example. When we talk about Karuna, when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, when we talk about, Prani Matra Hitai, all these concepts of Gita, you're living by example. You're talking about climate change, animal rights, women empowerment. So we'll definitely come to that. I think that's entire different segment which I have kept, the women empowerment and how lives of lakhs of women are changing because of your preaching and teachings. So this is one thing, but you go to those global platforms. Is there commonalities of issues we are carrying as part of this humanity? Because post COVID, it looked like things are changing. People are becoming more aware of their actions. They're just thinking that it's materialistic, and it was like everybody is getting Vedanta Marmagya. But now, present geopolitical condition, constant challenges, constant tensions is leading to some other scenario. So, keeping that entire picture in mind, what do you think, what are your observations when you are there, and what do you think biggest challenges we are having right now post to humanity at present?
Outwardly, obviously, the problems are different. The problems in a third world country are going to be different compared to the problems that a first world country experiences and names. Even within that country or this country, different socioeconomic segments, different genders, people of different castes and classes, different age groups, they experience different problems. So outwardly, things are obviously going to be different for every individual. You could be an Indian, and you could be a rural or small town housewife, a homemaker, and you'd have problems. And you could be an investment banker in Mumbai, and you are both Indians. Yet you would both name your problems very differently. And you could be someone in the US, and you could say the fundamental problem you are challenging is that of social attitudes towards sexual orientation. They would say, we are well fed, we have money, and this is the primary problem that we are facing and challenging today. So the problems will keep varying: time, place, age, 10th century, 15th century, 21st century, boomers, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Name them and they'll quote different problems. But inwardly, who is the one who chooses to identify with the situation, expect returns from a situation, and not getting those returns declares that situation as a problem. Who is that one? We started with the example of the rural woman in the kitchen. Who's the one who decided to put her there? And why did she have to agree? We look at the investment banker facing burnout, lot of stress, backache, an emerging belly, poor vitals,
Premature hormonal issues.
So the thing is, you maybe have an MBA from an Ivy League institution. You already have accumulated a lot of money, or your CV is strong enough to fetch you a position almost anywhere you want. Why do you still have to bring your body to this condition? Is not your consent involved? So this inner one who consents to all kinds of problems is the same. The problems vary. The experiencer of the problem, the validator of the problem, the holder of the problem remains the same. And this one is the universal human condition. This is not specific to any one individual, one place, one situation. The ego is a bodily thing. As you are born, the sense of self is there. Not just physically, but mentally, psychologically, it is there. When you say, I exist, you don't just mean the body. Somebody could come and abuse you, and he has done nothing bad to your body. And you still get hurt. You still get hurt. Now, nothing has been done to your physical self at all. Somebody stands at a distance and says something nasty, and you feel a deep sense of suffering. So that's the psychological self. It is this psychological self that takes birth with the body and is a feature of the human condition at all times and at all places. So that remains the same. The names, colors, contours of the external problems keep changing. The inner problem holder does not change. And it is not just the problem holder, I will say it is the creator of all problems. It can survive only in problems. It thrives with problems. It needs problems to make itself felt. So this one will remain. And even in the life cycle of a single individual, the names and shapes of problems keep changing, don't they? Yeah, right now we don't experience the same problems we did 20 years back. And 20 years hence, obviously problems would have changed. But the inner one who wants to feel problemed, who wants to feel like a victim, this one would remain. That's why animals have far fewer problems, because the psychic self is not so much present there. They have a physical self and they can get hurt physically, but they cannot get hurt ideologically. You don't agree to my ideology and I don't like that. And no animal is going to say that. So the inner self is ever present everywhere, and therefore what I am saying becomes globally relevant. So when I go to other countries, they name their problems differently. but they carry their problems in much the same way. So I simply have to listen to the shapes they are presenting, the words they are using, and then go beyond the named word and the expressed shape into the core of their condition. And there I find exactly the same thing that I find in India. That does not change. We are all human beings carrying that same inner hollow called the ego.
Yes. Acharya I think you were in UK recently when you mentioned this very interesting thing. When you say humanity has never attempted mass education of the self. So, what exactly in detail I would like to know you mean by this?
It's not complicated at all. 1 hour or a couple of hours every day of sitting with a work of wisdom. What qualifies as a work of wisdom? That which constantly inspires you to look into your life. That which doesn't present you with stories or belief systems, instead holds up a mirror to you. So when you look into the book is a mirror that shows you your own face. So we are not talking of religious dogma here. We are not talking of myths here. We are talking of the ego being shown its own face, the ego being exposed its own mechanism. And you do that, and if you're honest enough, then the book should be sufficient. Otherwise, you will need an external verifier, an external vantage point, which could be a capable teacher or a friend or a guide or somebody, so that you don't deceive yourself that you are really resonating with what the book is saying, because we are masters at that art as well. Yeah, I have completed 2 chapters of the book and I can see what the book is saying, while the fact is that I have been deceiving myself all along, and the inner one has not been illuminated at all, and yet I am just wading through the book, convincing myself that I am understanding what I'm reading. So sometimes an external system is also needed, and that's all. There is not much complexity in this. We have such a massive and complex system of education on the outside, right? And the world spends so much on education, schools, universities. We are the only species that spends a quarter of its life getting educated. So obviously there's going to be a massive system towards that. What education of the self demands is just 5% of that time and that investment. In terms of investment, maybe not even 5%, 1%, because massive labs are not needed. Massive grants for research projects, etc., are not really needed. Some kind of infrastructure is needed, maybe. And what's needed is choice, will, consent, intent, love. That's what is needed. So that's how it is, and we are already doing it. So 1.5 lakh regular students of our self-education program, and I meet them actually every night, starting 9 p.m. Half the month I meet them live. I address them on 14 days of the month. Remaining days, they either write an exam or attend to something that I have pre-recorded for them.
And I think your biggest live program,
yes.
Most of the people are attending it.
And they are benefiting. The numbers are only increasing every passing month. Oh yes, and people drop out as well, because we face a lot of infrastructural hurdles. So I must concede that we have a significant rate of dropouts as well. But then those who join in far exceed the dropouts. So we are growing in a significant way. And people see for themselves that they are benefiting. And the costs involved are not prohibitive, which means that all sections of the society can join in. So there are those who, for example, would contribute some 10, 50 or 100 rupees a month. And even they are able to afford it, and it works for them. And it works for us. And obviously, there are those who realize that this is very important. Then they come forward and support the work in a bigger way. But the point to be made here is this does not require massive infrastructure, massive mobilization. This does not require tremendous funds. We do not require venture capitalists to step in. And this is something that even the common man on the road can coolly afford. So this is a project on the table waiting to be taken. And mankind has been refusing. And that's not wise. That's not wise considering the condition of the world today.
But I think we need such projects, such ideas, such initiatives, reasonable, good backup. Backup, not because I won't say that Advait Foundation needs it right now, but the way it should be amplified, the way the message should be constantly reaching to people out there, and the way you have been practicing it so selflessly. And we know that finances are not our foremost requirement or something which we are asking for. So I think keeping that entire scenario in mind, we must have reasonable backup which should be coming up for such kind of organization.
Definitely.
You agree to
you
that?
See, 1.5 lakh is nothing when compared to the kind of scale that the world needs today.
Yes.
We need not just millions, but maybe billions to be enrolled in such programs.
Exactly.
Right? The population of the world is touching 9 billion now. So we require, even if 10, 20%, a quarter of the world were to be experiencing this, then the number runs actually in billions. So that's the kind of scale that is needed. As per my hunch, my little assessment, to make a civilizational impact, a minimum of 2 to 5 million people in India must be sincerely undergoing a program of self-education. So that's 20 to 50 lakh people. What we have today is 1.5 lakh. And that's the bare minimum that I'm talking of. In a country of 150 crore people, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs is next to nothing.
Exactly.
But even these numbers would begin to create a substantial impact, right? And we don't have time. The pace at which we are growing, it would take my entire lifetime to reach a million or two. And we don't have time. There was something called Operation 2030 that we launched. The planet itself is screaming it doesn't have time. The Paris Agreement put 2030 as the cutoff year for reducing our emissions by 44%. Instead of reducing the emissions, we actually increased them. So the assertion that we don't have time is not just mine, not subjective, but very objective, very scientific. So we can't wait for the number to organically grow from 1.5 lakh to 20 or 50 lakh. It would take decades, and the human being, all the species on the planet and this earth simply doesn't have time. So yes, you are right that we do require massive and quick expansion. And for that, obviously, a more general will and support of the society and the state are needed.
There's one very important thing you said, which can actually strike to any sane mind, that this planet is screaming we don't have much time. So, what it is that can actually make us afford to ignore that?
Our daily lives, our daily lives, as we sit here, we don't hear the screams. As we sit here, this room is well sanitized and psychologically quarantined from the broader universe. Even as we sit here, and we would have spoken for close to an hour now, already some 4 or 5 species would have gone extinct in this 1 hour window. The number of species we are losing per day is 100 or more than that, and that's 10 times the natural rate of extinction of species. So if you are losing 100 species a day, right, in this 1 hour you would have lost some 4 or 5 species. But do we hear their screams? We don't. What's happening in the Amazon jungles right now is not audible to us. How in this period, even as we spoke, millions of animals got slaughtered for human consumption is something we could not hear. How at this moment one human individual managed to put down, show down, and exploit another individual is something we cannot watch from here. Not that we cannot know, we choose not to know, because we are far too occupied with our own personal lives and our little things, if I may say, our petty matters. We have our kids to take care of. There is the matter of their school fees. Then there is the boss in the office and the colleagues all indulging in office politics, and we find that rather inviting, rather spicy. We find that easier to indulge in, and therefore it's both myopia and tunnel vision. We cannot see in a comprehensive way, and we cannot see what is a little ahead of us. All that we are seeing is that which is right in our proximity and right in our front. So yeah, myopic tunnel vision, that's a nice phrase to come up with. That's what most people suffer from or choose to suffer from. I'm all right. Why do I need to worry about my neighbor? I'm all right. Why do I need to have any wider concerns? The thing is that there is a great philosophical error here. We are assuming a divided self. We are assuming that I am separate from who you are, and therefore even if you go down, I can still remain afloat. Now this is not true. This is in defiance of the laws of existence. You and I are not really separate, not really distinct. If something untoward is happening to you, I cannot remain unaffected. Maybe I can remain unaffected on the outside, but inwardly, I too would suffer. Now, this again can come only from education of the self. This familiarity with what I'm calling as the laws of existence. Mainstream education isn't going to teach that. Only life education, only mass-based education of the self can teach that. But we are not doing that in our classrooms to our kids and youngsters. Therefore, the common belief is of the divided self and divided happiness, and even in spiritual circles, divided emancipation. Even as the world around me sinks, I can not just remain afloat, but actually get enlightened and rise to the heavens. So how can you be enlightened if enlightenment is another name for total liberation? How can you be liberated when everybody around you is in bondages, and the law of existence is that we are all in it together? My hands are tied to yours. How will I ascend? How will I rise? Right? If you remain stuck to the floor, the earth, the bottom, right? You're not just stuck here. You remain fallen here. And I claim that I'm rising to the skies because I'm the liberated one. Now, that is not possible. But we want to ignore that and deny that for as long as possible. And life is short. We manage somehow to while away that time in our inner delusion, and we succeed at that.
Okay. Acharya, of late, Gen Z has been in news for good or bad reasons, whatever. But personally, I think your take on Gen Z, I think I just saw one of your video, and I personally feel it's one of the most well understood term, and you very clearly said that whatever they did, whatever happened on the name of protest, it was not that generational representation, it was part of the ideology. So that requires very deep dive understanding too, and because I think you are very closely working with so many youngsters, so many of youth being associated with you. So what do you think personally, what is the problem of Gen Z, or the problem which is being made to look like a problem and is not there? And do we have a generational shift when it comes to problem?
No, I think the problem begins with thinking of them as special or different. Their mannerisms are different and distinct because they came up in the internet age. We discovered internet when we were already young. I made my first Hotmail account at the age of 19. 19.
Must be in college or just
Yes,
landed
IIT,
in.
IIT second year.
Oh, great.
So third year, second year, 18, at the age of 18. Today's 18-year-old was already on Facebook or maybe Orkut uh, in his second month of life. You know, the parents clicked the pic and put it on social media. So they are digital natives, as if they were born there, really. Well, we discovered internet a little later in life, particularly social media, not just internet, social media. So their mannerisms are different. They are more globally exposed. Internet, you can follow anybody. You have global icons, and their Insta followers run into hundreds of millions, which means they are followed by people from all over the world. So yes, they can appear to behave differently, speak differently, wear differently. And because we only look at things that are visible on the outside, therefore we think that they are a different generation. See how they're doing their hair, oh, that's different. See how they're dressing up, oh, that's different. Look at their choice of words. Look at the new words and phrases and idioms they have coined. All that is so different. So we feel that they are different. In fact, we have turned them so different that it appears that they are not just a different generation, but a different species altogether. That's what we have done to them. And in the process, we have forgotten that they are normal, ordinary human beings like everybody else. I've been working with them since more than 2 decades now. So several of those who belong to this generation were actually not even born when I started working for these generations, actually for youngsters in general. So I know them very closely, very intimately. They have been my friends, actually. I have more friends from the younger generations than I have from my own age group and my own peers and my batchmates, because I've been in their company. They have been my life work. So I know them. And they may feel odd to an outsider. I know their heart. There is nothing odd about them. I'm not just making this up. I've actually had friends, I still have, among people who are like 15, 20, 25 years younger to me. So there is that familiarity. They are not different, and I really balk when I say, oh, that's Gen Z. They are different, but they are not. They are not.
But they're upfront. Like if they don't like anything about Acharya Prashant, I think they would be very vocal. I mean, not to think even twice.
Selectively, that's not
Yes.
true. They are also very fearful. So it's only a small cross section that you are talking of as vocal, right? One of the things that I have attempted with my students from this generation is is fearlessness. Now, can you be please fearless? Right? They also have a higher incidence of mental illness. Right?
Yes.
So they are more tense, more stressed, more depressed, more anxious, and all those things. If you were truly upfront, all these things wouldn't be seen in such abundance with such frequency. So no, yes, our generations, we very diligently practiced hypocrisies of a few kind, and I'm so glad that this generation is relatively free of those daily hypocrisies. That's what you meant when you said that they are very vocal and upfront. And I'm always pleased when I look at them express their views with relatively lesser hesitation. So that is there, but that is cultural. Being upfront is a cultural thing to them, and we must get the difference right. They are upfront, that does not really indicate the lack of fear within. It is cultural. What does that mean? Because everybody in my generation is vocal, upfront, even outspoken. Therefore, I too would behave in the same way. Right? That outspokenness is not coming from inner clarity or inner lack of fear. It is a thing of the trend. And when you are performing fearlessness because that's the trend, then you're not really fearless. You're not really fearless. Who are you? You're just Homo sapiens, a human being like everybody else, right? Suffering from the same inner conditions like everybody else: confusion, depression, FOMO, YOLO. All that is Gen Z. Comparison, envy, and all that you find there in abundance, just like in the other generations. So let's not first thing declare them as aliens. And we have almost succeeded in doing that. This generation is there. And if Gen Z looks to us like any aliens, what will we then refer to the even younger generations as? We already have Gen Alpha and Gen Beta at our hands. So
Keep on coining.
Yes. So let's not create more divides. We love dividing people, right? So as if race, color, creed, country, caste, as if these were not sufficient, we came up with a new division: generation. So that generation is different. And then there is an arbitrary cutoff. If you are 29 years old, then you are Gen Z. If you are 31, then you belong to some other generation. So all that is not very wise. They want love, just as every human being
I think
does.
Emotionally they want more security and to be well taken care of.
Just as we want. Even referring to them as they is not really something that sits well with me. I mean
Your true friend of Gen Z, I can.
Yes,
I can see.
Don't we want security? Don't we all want love? Right? You want to feel secure. I want to be at peace. And there is this friend of ours, 26 years of age, and he too is in the same boat, in the same situation. Right? He wants peace. He wants love. He feels insecure, he feels anxious, he feels lonely. He's Gen Z. He's our friend.
So these three things I personally uh, feel, Acharya ji, is there with everybody. I mean, irrespective of generation, age, socially or financially where you are. That is fear, loneliness, and that urge of validation that I personally found in everybody, whomever I meet or met, or like in myself, everybody around. Why is it so difficult that we cannot get over with these time and time again and again? We see over the period, there's nothing that can settle this down. Why it's such a big challenge for us?
Because you cannot settle this down forever and say, oh, the deed is done, the matter is closed once and for all. That cannot happen. We must understand the origin of all this. The psychic self, the ego, is born with the human body. It is not a taught thing, it is a born thing. So, as you are born, you feel that you exist, that you are. I amness, I amness, I am. It is the ego that is born, it is the ego that dies. You look at a dead body, the body is still there, but the body is no more saying, I am. There is nobody now claiming the body is mine. There is now nobody claiming any kind of psychological hurt, right? So it is the ego that has gone. The physical body is still there. In fact, the physical body will always be there. It would just decompose and the molecules would just spread and but still remain in the universe. The physical body would remain. What totally disappears is the individual ego. The ego therefore dies, and it is only the ego that takes birth. And this ego cannot die fully as long as the body is alive. Therefore, many implications. One, you cannot get rid of your loneliness forever. Loneliness is like your right hand. Loneliness is like your breath. It will remain. Yes, if you are honest enough, and if you want your whole welfare, then you will explore within. You will look at how your own inner machinery functions. You will see through your own intentions, your own deceptions. And when that is happening, the loneliness would cool down, reduce, dissolve, subside for a while, but only as long as you are attentive towards yourself. And attention is a choice, right? Looking into the mirror is a choice. And the next day you can choose to be again inattentive. And again you will find that same loneliness is rising. Because remember, the loneliness is a physical thing. We have to remember the ego takes birth, the ego dies, which means as long as you say, I am alive, I am alive. It is the ego that is alive. It is the ego that is alive. Therefore, these things will remain. And the case that we considered just now belong to the lifetime of one particular individual. You take care of your greed or your envy or your loneliness or your fear today, and you will have to take care of it tomorrow as well. Constant attention is the thing. You lose it and you find that the whole inner toxicity is again rising. Next, you see what happens to the next kid who is born. There could be a very liberated kind of father. There could be a very wise mother. And these two have been really loving and attentive individuals all their life. Now this kid is born. The kid gets nothing in inheritance. The kid can inherit the wealth of the mother and the father, and they can also pass on their knowledge. But when it comes to love and attention, That is something that the kid has to earn for herself by way of choice, by way of loving choice. It is her own intent that would count. Which means, if you put these two together, that this is not something that one generation can pass to the next one. And it is also not something that an individual of any generation can carry forward to the next day of her life. Parents cannot give it to their kids. And as a kid, what you have today won't carry forward to tomorrow. This is something that has to be earned in the moment by way of choice. Therefore, these problems will remain. Bad news. Good news is you always have a choice whenever this thing arises as a problem, because this problem is always a thing of consent. This inner situation exists only because you find some interest in that situation. You could not, for example, be suffering. You could not, for example, be identified or attached. If you do not have stakes in identification or attachment, and once you see that this is not happening to you, that you are doing it to yourself, that your consent, your choice, your will is centrally involved here, then it becomes easy for you to be liberated in the moment, only in the moment. Now, the next moment, the next situation is another thing altogether. The next moment is both a threat and an opportunity, right? The physical thing, the ego, will rise again because the body is still there, will rise again. But it will rise again subject to the choice that the rise is sanctioned by itself. The ego can be its own best friend and its worst enemy. If it chooses to allow itself its own inflation, it's acting as an enemy to itself. And if the ego chooses to deflate itself, the ego is being a friend to itself. So there is this choice. Let's not be hopeful at all. Let's not say that a day will come when all the people of the world will be permanently enlightened. That's not going to happen. There is no permanence in this thing. This is a love affair by choice. You have to choose it every day, every morning, every night. You have to choose whether you want to still remain free, or you could choose bondages. It depends on you. Equally, this is not stored knowledge. You cannot put it in a library. You cannot hand it over in a classroom. Yes, you can create great conditions, which you must create, but it's irrespective of the best of the conditions. The student or the child might not exercise the right choice, and then it won't happen. So that's the human condition. That's the universal thing. It's not a condemnation of where we stand. It is actually an exposition of the choice we hold.
Let's not suppress it, but address it.
Address it. And whether or not you address it is again a choice, which means there are inwardly really no victims.
Right.
Externally, yes, somebody could harm you and you would be right in claiming victimhood, even compensation. Externally, you have been hurt. Somebody came and stole away something from your house, or somebody banged his car into your vehicle. So you could say, yes, he has harmed me. Externally. Internally, all suffering involves choice. And that choice has to be continuously made. None of it is permanent.
Great. The one of the most important subject, Acharya, how your videos are making lifetime changes to millions of women across the world. I won't say even country, but the world. And the kind of comments, the kind of videos I see, they're so organic. And but I think, are you risking something against those conventional standards of patriarchy in our society?
The right thing has to be done. How would you manage to sleep at night if you know what is right and still convince yourself to live and act otherwise? So yeah, if that involves some kind of a risk, so be it. Life itself is a risk. Who can be sure of tomorrow? And I think I've already lived sufficiently long, so fine. I mean,
Because the kind of subjects you actually choose, right from women education to self sustainability, safety, I think each and everything which nobody would have dared to otherwise go and tell the world directly, said this also exists, this is also being done to our women, this also needs to be stopped or to be done or to not to be done. You're doing it so effortlessly and constantly. I think hats off to you, Acharya ji, because I can personally see how deep, how great the difference is being actually made.
to be honest, I really do not experience as if I am saying something that involves courage, or or as if I am saying something special. There is a person in front of me, a listener, a student, and that person presents her condition. And obviously, I have to honestly tell her what I see. I I don't have to summon courage. That doesn't happen. In fact, I'm trying to recall whether that requires me to act brave or something. No, it doesn't. It's a very simple thing. It's an obvious thing. It's a thing of basic honesty.
That's what we are lacking as a society.
Maybe yes, probably. But then we make it difficult for ourselves by saying that simple honesty demands risk taking and a lot of courage. No, it doesn't demand much courage. I don't think I'm being particularly brave or something, or heroic or something. No, not at all. I'm just being I'm just being simple, being as I am right now here. So you could raise a matter that involves some kind of social or political or sectarian risk. I would still be answering it in much the same way as I answer a seemingly harmless question, because my job is to just say what I see as the fact. My job is to just lead this conversation towards the truth. And yes, sometimes I do sense that the matter that is being raised is risky, in the sense that it may have communal dimensions, or that traditionalists might be heard, or that there are various sectors in the society. Sometimes the liberals get offended, sometimes the left, sometimes the right, sometimes this religion, sometimes that religion. So when the question is being spoken to me, I do sense that this is probably going to hurt a few sections. But that's what. Maybe I can be at most more sensitive to the language I use, that I do not, in a careless way, come up with words that needlessly rough somebody up, or hurt where they are not intended to. So that's the maximum care that I can exercise. But beyond that, I don't think courage is needed. Yes, some care is needed sometimes. Yes, I see that. But courage in particular, no. And care is needed just to ensure that you are not hurting someone where you don't intend to hurt. Sometimes the hurt that you cause is intentional. It is a part of the process. So that hurt must remain, must happen. But you can be careful that you don't just casually bash up people. That's the maximum that can happen. But I mean, how do you afford to call yourself a teacher? Forget teacher, even a human being. How do you call yourself a human being if you cannot be true to an individual who has come to you as a friend, seeking guidance, seeking help on a certain matter? I cannot even imagine a situation where there is this one coming to me, expressing his or her condition, and then I mislead her. This is unthinkable. Yes, as a human being, I have my limitations. So, what I offer her by way of advice might have been expressed in a better way. Or maybe there was a different and better lens of looking at her situation. So, all that is possible. But intentional deception, I don't see how one can live with that.
Acharya, a lot has been changing over the time. But what do you think, if we talk about what are those shackles, what are those challenges which are still the same for our women, be it any time, be it any society, be it anywhere for that matter? What is that which is not allowing the change to happen, the actual change which should be there?
If you look at the legal provisions that exist today, first of all, we have a beautiful constitution which fundamentally says, please, no distinction of any kind, no privilege of any kind to any gender. Equality is a basic tenet. And then, after the constitution, which was the first fundamental law of the land, we have had just so many laws, rules, regulations, and legally, structurally, externally, the Indian woman does stand pretty much empowered. So much so that it's now the men who are complaining that the law leans too much in favor of women. So, this is a classic case where now the bondage is not so much external but internal. Externally, a lot has already been done. A lot still needs to be done. I know of very suppressive external conditions also. They exist in parts of the country, but it's much better than how it was a few decades back, or how it still is in other parts of the world. It's now mostly internal. The bondage, the constraint, that is internal. The woman is still carrying a lot of history. The law has actually moved far ahead of the woman. The woman needs to gallop and catch up with the liberal standards of the law. Now, the law is saying equal, but the woman is not yet internally declaring that equality. The law is ahead of the woman. And when the law is ahead of you, it won't help you that much. because you will have external freedom without having internal freedom. And that internal freedom is something no law can assign to you. It is not something any kind of system or structure can deliver to you. It's a choice that you have to make for yourself. Now, what is constraining her from making that choice? History, a lot of history. The woman is carrying a lot of history. And that is something no law can erase from her interiors. Right? So, law gives her freedom, for example, to work somewhere. And you can fly to some place. When you go to the ticketing portal, it doesn't discriminate on gender, right? The visa process, anything and everything. You write F, you write M, you write anything. Nobody is going to give a damn, fine, doesn't matter which gender you are coming from. But the woman still won't fly. Not because the authorities or the airlines are discriminating, but because she is carrying roles from tradition. She has been conditioned, she has been raised in a particular way, and she has now internalized that way.
Very right. Yes.
So the shackles are no longer external, they have been internalized. Whatsoever is external can be legalized. Legal provisions can take care of the external oppressor. Fine, removed. What about the internal oppressor? History, tradition, role models, concepts of what a good mother, a good wife, a good woman, a good daughter looks like.
The preset notions and definitions.
Carried by the woman herself. Now, the preset notions do not exist outside of you. So the parliament is now helpless. The parliament can do no more. The parliament can at most do what it's attempting to do, offer reservation to women. But even that won't help beyond a point. Because the seat is outside of you. You sit on the seat. You don't carry the seat within you. And within you, you are unseated. Within you, you stand dislodged from your own base. Do you get this? Now, when that happens, then no external provision is going to matter beyond a point.
What's your idea of feminism, Acharya? Because I personally think, being a woman, that this idea of feminism somewhere narrows that idea of being a woman in itself, in totality. What's your take?
You see, the intent is obviously good. When you look at the entire history of feminism,
but there are so many demarcations.
Yes, but please understand that the feminists too are human beings, and it is possible that they have been making certain conceptual or philosophical or ideological mistakes. That is possible. But if you look at how it started and the various stages through which it has passed, obviously the intention has been to liberate women, right? It's just that sometimes we don't even understand the bondages, but we want liberation.
Yeah, wait, I think it's a very valid point you made.
We don't understand where our bondages are really coming from, but we want to be liberated, and that's where we might make a mistake. But you must also look at what feminism has actually delivered on ground for women, and it has delivered a lot. We must first of all acknowledge that. Right from voting rights to equitable laws and many other things. So women have been a beneficiary of feminism. That had to be said. Now we have to come to what feminism lacks. The principal shortcoming is that it treats woman too much as a separate human being. And the separation is on the basis of gender. Right? So it says women must have this, women must have this, and women as opposed to men, women as opposed to men, women as relative to men. Now that's where the separation, the distinction becomes too heavy. True feminism beyond the point feminism has already reached, would involve forgetting the gender aspect altogether. So we love to say in our student community, human, not woman. So true feminism is when the woman looks at herself and sees a human being, not a woman. The woman, what she requires today is freedom from womanness. She can remain a female, which is all right. Being a female is physical, biological, which is wonderful. Mother Nature produced her a female, somebody is a male, which is fine, good, lovely. But the womanness has to be challenged. And once that womanness is gone, you are a human female. A human female, not a woman. The woman is an artificial social construct, a product of history, tradition, conditioning, so many things. And that's something that must be now dropped. The woman needs to unburden herself of her womanness and all that which goes with it. She must look like this, she must act like this. The very concept of the nice or the not so nice woman, that has to go. And that would be real feminism, humanism.
Very true. Very interesting. Okay, so my next question is, Acharya, with most of the parents are battling with now issue or burden or challenges of parenting. So once you're a parent, that's again a challenge. And then you have more issues to tackle with the child, to deal with him. What it is that has made it more complicated or difficult now? Where are we lacking?
As parents, we don't know how to deal with ourselves. How will we deal with the child? Please see what we mean by the term parent. So you are like what, 25, 30, 35 something? And you have never had any kind of life education. But because it's a thing of the body and the society, you bear a child. The body gets mature enough for reproduction. And it's a social thing that you now have come to this age, therefore you must first of all get married and then have a kid. So then you decide to have a baby. And that's how kids are born. Parents are human beings first. And humbly, I would like to submit, they are very ignorant human beings. Somebody in his or her mid or late 20s. What does this person know of life? Nothing at all. And now there is this entirely new, fresh human body in your arms, in your lap, and you have been declared a mother or a father, and you're supposed to now raise it, sire it, mentor it. How will you do that? You have never learnt anything about this thing called life. And here is a life form itself. And suddenly you are being told, now please, nurture, educate, raise, teach. How will you do that? And that's the reason what we find is a very bad kind of parenting in most households. Not that the parents don't intend to do good to their kids, but it is structurally impossible to raise your kids in a fine way when you have never bothered to know who you are. To mothers, I once said, before you give birth to a baby, give birth to yourself first. You are not even born and you are thinking of giving birth. All you have is a body and a lot of darkness. I don't intend to hurt you.
Oh, that's
but
very deep,
but
actually.
but that's your reality. You have a physically mature body because you are some 25 or 30 years of age, so you can give birth to a baby. That's fine, you can do that. But inwardly there is just a lot of darkness. You do not know, for example, where emotions come from. Sometimes you start crying, sometimes you laugh, sometimes you get attracted to something, sometimes you hate something or somebody, sometimes you start feeling lonely, you are attached to this or that. You like something very strongly, and if I ask you why exactly do you like that thing so strongly, you'll have no convincing answer. You have no idea of where your thoughts, impulses, intuitions, emotions are coming from. And yet you decided to give birth. And now what will you do with this baby? You will only do what mankind has been traditionally doing since centuries, you know, misraising its kids.
Misraising its kids.
Misraising
Wow.
its kids. Huh? So it's an onerous thing. It's a tremendous responsibility. And if parents have any love for their kids, they must dive into wisdom literature. How can you raise a kid when you are yourself psychologically still an infant, which most people are? Most people are. Outwardly, we grow. Inwardly, we are still so petty. Inwardly, we couldn't become big. How will we turn the kid into a big individual? It's going to be impossible. By definition, it is going to be impossible. In fact, I will color the kid with all my prejudices. I will project all my fantasies and desires on the kid. Won't I do that? So, so life education becomes even more important for parents and wannabe parents and such people. Otherwise, the most exploited section on this planet among human beings is the kid, because the kid is helpless and dependent, and the parents can treat it and misraise it any way they want. What can the poor kid do? The kid has taken birth and the parents are all steeped in darkness. What will the parents do? I actually feel very bad when I look at what parents are doing to their kids. I don't enter their homes. Nobody invites me actually. but but when I look at parents and kids in shopping malls, airports, railway stations, cafes, restaurants, and I see how the relationship is panning out, it's painful. It's painful just to look at what the parents are doing to their kids. And this is a one-way street. I cannot blame the kid here. The kid is one person who cannot be blamed because he does not have agency yet. Very helpless, very dependent, very trusting also. To the little daughter, the father is a hero. And look at who the father really is. That's such a betrayal, is it not?
Okay, so as we are hitting last leg of the discussion, Acharya ji, I have to ask this question. People say that when we look at present picture of Acharya ji and just few years back, when we see how come there is such a vast difference in his appearance, what has he done to gain such a level of fitness? So what have you done, Acharya ji? Just decode it to so many people who are like so bechain atma to know this thing.
Actually, last 1 year has been very hectic. So I used to play quite frequently. Tennis, squash, badminton, my favorites. So, and also gym, maybe 3 days a week or something. All that actually reduced to a great extent in the last 1 year. Truth Without Apology, the last book, this one.
The bestseller,
Yeah,
the
this released
super bestseller.
yes, in September last year. And I've been traveling incessantly since then. So I realized, it was in September, I realized that I won't have the usual means of fitness available to me anymore, which is tennis and gymming. So I was forced to look at my diet. And the small thing that I did was calorie counting. That's all, nothing else. There is nothing more to it at all.
How you have been counting it? Just share the
anything,
secret.
anything that I take, I just take a pic, and now I know what I eat, and I already know the calories.
So what general diet chart of Acharya Prashant, if I
There
want
is
to know?
no diet chart, and there is no routine, no regularity at all. The calorie thing is very simple. In a 24-hour period, there are n number of calories that the body is anyway going to burn, your basic metabolic rate. And there are some calories that you would additionally burn depending on the level of your physical activity. What you eat must be less than that. Simple. That it doesn't mean that you have to take 6 small meals a day. That doesn't mean that if you take one big meal a day, then you would eat more. It's simple. In a 24-hour window, you know that you are going to expend so many calories. So, for example, your BMR could be 1600 or 1800 or 2000 something. You also know your activity levels. You are expending some 300 to 600 calories per day additionally, or maybe 800 if you go to play that day. So you must limit your intake, and that's all. And you don't have to limit it. In my case, I don't have to limit it. I just have to know how much I have had, and that's all. I must just have to know that this is the number I have had, and that's all. And the body automatically loses weight. It's basic thermodynamics. It's physics. There are no great secrets
But
here.
I think consistency is the key.
Consistent. Honesty.
So how you maintain that? Because you've been traveling so much, touring so much, been to so many different places, different kind of, the food availability and all, sticking to that.
It doesn't matter what kind of food is available. You know the calories. So if you have had a heavy breakfast amounting to some 800 or 1000 calories, you know that already. Which means that if I'm limiting myself to 1600 or 1800 calories a day, I only have 600 or 800 more available for the rest of the day. It's that kind of basic, simple arithmetic. That's all. There is no complication here. I don't have to make it tough for myself by telling myself, this much I'll take here, this much I'll take here, this is nothing. I don't have the privilege to do all that. As you said, I have been traveling, so I don't have control over my meals. All that I can control is knowledge. I will know what is going in. And once I know that sufficient number of calories has gone in, I won't eat anymore. That's my best method. I don't eat anymore. So if I've had a heavy breakfast, really heavy breakfast, right, I won't eat for the rest of the day. That's all. Simple.
It'll be one meal for the day.
One meal for the day. If you give me a heavy dose of chola bhatura in the morning and all, and
Are you a chola bhatura person?
Sometimes I have to take that once a month or something. It happens.
I
or a heavy long dosa, if it is that is there. That is anyway 1000 to 1500 calories.
Yes.
So I know I'm done for the rest of the day. So I won't eat anything for the rest of the day. That's all. That's all.
Great.
That's all. But at the same time, one addition, one caveat, the nutrients. Because it is possible that you take in all carbs and that becomes 1500 calories, and that will leave you short of vitamins and minerals and other things that you need. So, and protein. So you must ensure that it's not just carbs that you are taking in. If you are young, you actually, irrespective of whether you are young, you need protein. Otherwise, your muscle mass will drop, and that's dangerous. If you are not into animal products, then vitamin B12, vitamin D, calcium, iron. So every 3 months or so, just get yourself checked, and that's a healthy habit to have. Though I haven't had myself checked since like 5-6 months now. That reminds me.
It's a reminder now. In the interview, it's a reminder that Acharya Prashant has to get his test done now.
So just ensure that there is the right food that goes in by way of calories.
Mindful eating.
By way of calories. Yes. So
So just follow.
But
This
if
is so
you,
simple now. You'll be like him in like physically the kind of apprehensions people are having in the
one thing is
sometimes.
certain, it is not complex at all. What it needs is basic honesty. I
Discipline.
have already eaten, so I won't eat anymore. That's all. That's all. Nothing more than that.
Discipline is the most important thing. Exactly. And the next question, allow me to ask this, uh, because whenever I was like searching for anything pertaining to you, Acharya ji, one next question that was popping up was why Acharya Prashant is not married. Whom will he marry? Something, I mean, पूरा दुनिया आपकी शादी कराना चाहती है. लोग बहुत परेशान हैं इस सवाल से. They are like so mad over Acharya Prashant's marriage and marital status. So you only answer this. I mean,
Actually, the question must belong to the questioner. I must just reflect it back to the questioner. So I was not born married. why must why must I at some point in life decide to abide by a social institution, a tradition, a convention, and tie the knot? Why? I didn't see any reason. I was all right as I was. I was not married at 15. I was not married at 25. Why should I, between 15 and 25, decide to do something as extraordinary as marriage? I was not married at 25. I was not married at 35. And after that, not at 35, not at 45. That's where I stand. So, in fact, the question goes to the questioner. Why did you decide to do this special thing called marriage? I have nothing against marriage. To me, it is companionship. You see,
exactly.
it is companionship.
Hmm.
Practically, you clear it of the names and the rituals and all that. Practically, what it means is two people now living together. That's what it means, and there can be nothing wrong in about two people living together. You can call it as marriage or anything, whatever you want to call it as, but companionship, by definition, is nothing problematic. So what will I have to say against a man and a woman living together? I don't have anything to say against that. Just that I was in no need of that kind of companionship. I already had enough company. I already had enough work to fill up my life. In fact, if I get into an institution of that kind and it doesn't work out well, my life work would be hindered, impeded, obstructed. I'm pretty sure about that. I didn't feel any kind of emotional hollowness or emotional longing for a particular woman. Not that I have been away from women, or that not that I do not know relationships, not that I have not had relationships, but I have never had the impulse to secure that relationship. It's been a free flowing, healthy one with freedom at both ends. I have not had the care, concern, or idea to have a permanent contract. And probably that's what has kept things healthy. So I have nothing against those who marry, but I do not see what is there to be gained when it comes to me by having a permanent contractual presence in my life. I respect women and I want them to fly free. I would never want to tether them, never want to confine them, even to myself. Yes, you can come to me as a friend. I can be a great companion to a few people. Not everybody finds me good company. A few do. So you can come to me irrespective of your gender. It's not in that direction. And you could be a woman. And I can be a good friend. I can be good company. But I don't see why we need to enter into a set of duties, responsibilities, and obligations towards each other.
The validation there, as we discussed.
Yes,
We are
yes,
generally-
yes. And I've had beautiful relationships. I've had healthy and free relationships. And I'm not coming from tradition of the kind that says women are evil, or that women are Maya and women will corrupt you. So if you're on the spiritual path, stay away from them. Thing like that. To me, the woman is a human being, no less and no more. And she carries all the beauty of the human being, and she also carries all the frailties of the normal human being. And just as men are diverse, different, distinct, so are women. So you can have great relationships, you can have loving relationships, but not with all women, just as you can't have great relationships with all men. I don't see the man-woman relationship as fundamentally special or distinct. You see, when you strike friendship with someone, you could have a deep friend, right? Best friend, your closest buddy, most intimate kind of friendship. Do you go out and get a social certificate from religion, from law, from society? Do you seek a certificate just because you are being friends with someone? If I'm not to get a certificate on being friends with a man, why must I seek a certificate for being friends with a woman? So I'm not going to do that.
And would rather love to see you as happy, healthy, teaching and preaching to and making purpose of this life and reaching out to millions and millions out there. Thank you so much, Acharya ji, for such a wonderful, meaningful, lovely conversation with us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.